In today's video, we compiled a list of airplanes that are bigger than Olympic pools and 7-story buildings. Number 5. Spruce Goose, Hughes H-4 Hercules. The Spruce Goose, or Hugh flying boat, was one of the largest aircraft of its time, and guess what? It was made entirely of wood. The Hughes H-4 Hercules plane, also known as the Spruce Goose, was first manufactured during World War II, when ships were destroyed by the German submarines. At the time, the need for moving material and troops across the Atlantic Ocean was growing. Hence, the Spruce Goose was built to achieve this mission. Henry Kaiser came up with the idea of building a huge flying plane for transport with the help of Howard Hughes to design and build the Spruce Goose. Hughes took on the task of designing the plane, which was made more challenging by the government restrictions. Material like steel and aluminum were banned, therefore the plane was solely made of wood. This wood was not simple traditional wood, but indeed it was a particular combination of plywood and resin made from birchwood. The plane took longer than Kaiser anticipated, that he eventually abandoned the project, and only Hughes continued in his absence to finally name it H-4 Hercules. The aircraft weighed around 400,000 pounds at takeoff and cost $23 million at the time. It was designed to carry 8 engines. On the 2nd of November 1947, Hughes made his first and only flight on California Beach. Only one Spruce Goose was ever built, and there were no plans to develop more. By the time it flew in 1947, the war was already over, and the huge aircraft was no more in demand. Today, the Spruce Goose is in the Evergreen Aviation Museum in McMinnville, Oregon. We recommend you watch The Aviator, that talks about Howard Hughes and his Hercules. Number 4. The Pregnant Guppy. In the 1960s, NASA was looking for an urgent mean of transportation for large objects like rockets and other parts of their territory efficiently at a high speed. They were looking for something with a really large fuselage and could carry rocket components from where they were made to where they were used. Only one airplane solved the problem, and it was known as the Pregnant Guppy, the first of 8 remaining Guppy aircraft that followed over the years. The cargo section of the Pregnant Guppy had a 28 feet diameter. The spacecraft components were now able to reach the building facility in 18 hours instead of 18 days. The Pregnant Guppy was derived from the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser and was used during the 1960s and 1970s. The Boeing 377 was not able to carry the Saturn I rocket that NASA needed for Apollo, and these were a whopping 40 feet tall. The idea was to keep the Boeing 377 as is, but increase the size of the upper half of the fuselage to make it look like a balloon to become 20 feet higher than the original Boeing 377. John M. Conroy was an actor, Army pilot, but also an entrepreneur and the main head behind the Pregnant Guppy monster plane. Conroy convinced NASA that the Pregnant Guppy was more than an idea, and actually he tested it to prove his concept. The Guppy flew beautifully and was used for multiple NASA missions before it was finally succeeded by other Guppies and larger aircraft. Fun fact, the Pregnant Guppy got its name from the pregnant guppy fish that represented the bloated section of the fuselage. Number 3. Dreamlifter. The Boeing Dreamlifter was first launched in 2006 by Boeing to support the construction of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The Boeing 787 wings were constructed in Japan, and the fuselage parts were constructed in Italy, Japan, and US. The parts that were constructed were too big to be transported. The only possible way for transportation was to build a mechanism that can carry large parts and over a short period of time. This was when Boeing decided to build the Dreamlifter using the already existing design of the Boeing largest passenger plane, the Boeing 747-400. 4 of those were converted into the Dreamlifter instead of building new aircraft from the scratch. The Dreamlifter had the same basic design of the Boeing 747, but the tail and fuselage were changed. The cargo was loaded from the rear of the fuselage and a unique swing door mechanism controlled by hydraulics. The Dreamlifter does not carry an APU, and indeed requires external power for the engine to start. To load cargo into the Dreamlifter, a device known as DBL is utilized and was constructed by the French company TLD and holds a Guinness World Record for the longest aircraft loader in the world. Again, just like the Pregnant Guppy, the Dreamlifter has a noticeably bloated fuselage that was extended in length 235 feet from the original 231.6 feet on the Boeing 747. The tail was also increased by approximately 7 feet in height to help in controlling the humongous airplane. Number 2. Boeing C97 Strato Freighter. The C97 was a critical product for Boeing after its first successful predecessors, the Boeing 29 and Boeing 50 Superfortress. A lot of the design elements found on those 2 bombers were actually implemented on the C97. The post-World War II plane was developed by Boeing and flew for decades until it finally retired in 1978. The C97 was customized to make it adaptable to any mission, 50 C97s were delivered when the initial model was designed. They were then converted to many forms like the KC-97A, KC-97E, and KC-97F, which were air tankers. KC-97G, which was a troop transporter, and finally other variants were also used for training, search and rescue, and turbojet testbeds. Also, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser was the passenger variant of the C-97 and was indeed used by Pan Am, BOAC, and Northwest. The C-97 is a mammoth plane powered by 4 Pratt R4360B piston engines and a double-lobed deep fuselage to adapt to the various arrangements and missions. The plane can reach a top speed of 375 miles per hour and to a ceiling of 35,000 feet. The cargo section could house 69 medical patients, and in the air tanker mission of the C-97, large fuel stores were outfitted to feed awaiting aircraft via a single-directional boom. The radar, which was residing at the radome, differentiated the C-97 passenger aircraft from the war-specific models. The C-97 was mainly operated by 2 pilots, a navigator, and a flight engineer. The wingspan measures 141 feet, and the fuselage 110 feet long with a height above 38 feet. Number 1. Antonov AN-225 Mriya. The Antonov 225 was the biggest cargo plane in the world, developed by the Antonov Design Bureau in Ukrainian SSR. Only one Antonov 225 Mriya was ever built, and it took its first flight in December 1988. It was designed to carry the Soviet space shuttle known as Buran, as well as the Energia rocket boosters. The Antonov 225 has a maximum takeoff weight of 710 tons, and it holds a distinguishable record of airlifting 559,580 pounds of load. The Antonov 225 can carry twice the load of a Boeing 747, and it can occupy a football field from its nose to tail. This giant mammoth definitely needed unbelievable power to lift it up, and the engineers at Antonov fitted 6 turbofan engines that pumped 52,590 pounds of thrust. Mriya stands for Dream in the Ukrainian language, and the Antonov 225 was considered the Ukrainian Dream. It has a 32-wheel landing gear that included 20 steerable wheels, out of which 4 were in the nose gear and the remaining 16 were in the rear gear. The Antonov 225 Mriya made a special landing at the Paris Air Show with the Soviet space shuttle on its back. The cargo section of the Antonov 225 was a total length of 142 feet, width of 21 feet, and height of 14 feet, which meant that it could literally carry 50 cars in its belly. The Antonov 225 can reach a maximum speed of 528 miles per hour at an altitude of 36,000 feet. If you had a chance to fly on any monster plane, which would you choose? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications. Like and subscribe to our video. See you in the next one.